Good morning, everyone. How's it going? This probably wasn't the best time for it, but I'm awake and I needed to do it today. Oops. I don't know if you guys are ready, but we're finally gonna get around to reading these reviews since I'm sure most people won't be here to watch it live. At least we'll keep the VOD. Let's see. He vanished. I think we'll go with something a little bit more calming for the VGM. What do you guys think? This probably won't be a very long stream, but we shall see what happens. Anyways, here is the first one. It's for a review for a Santa hat and beard. 3 stars by Graham. This was written December 13th of 2016. It says, eyebrows for the eyebrow Santa. It says, the beard is sewn directly to the hem of the hat, which means that the eye hole is, on a normal sized head, positioned directly over the forehead. This is fantastic if you're aiming to dress as a Santa Claus with locked-in syndrome, which can only communicate via the wiggling of his eyebrows. But most would probably describe that as more depressing than festive. On the plus side, the beard is quite fluffy. Hi, buddy. Wait, you have captions? How do you have captions? I don't think I use Hey, I don't have a thing for that. What phone do you have? Does it actually work well? Hello, Mana. Oh boy, this is gonna be a long one. Oh my god. Okay, well, how about we save that one for last? This one is much shorter, but still a little long. This is also for the Haribo sugar-free gummies. So you know what? We'll leave those two for last, as I think those are going to be quite funny. Okay. So this one's a little too-thing. Moto G 2022. I have not heard of that, but it's pretty cool that it has built-in captions. I don't think my phone has that. Okay, anyways, so this is gonna be a review for Mini Babies 200 pieces, 1-inch mini plastic babies for baby shower, ice cube games, tiny Barbies, baby party favor supplies, decoration. Oh, okay. And this review is 5 stars, written January 7th of 2021. Wow, pretty, not that long ago. Alright, so it says, it's titled, Yes. I bought these so I could hide them everywhere for my fiance to find. At first, he thought it was a charming new bit of mine. He thought I only had 1 or 2 of these tiny plastic babies. He thought wrong. Hearing his deep, exhausted sigh followed by, "Oh my god," because he has found baby number 175, has brought me more joy than I could ever describe. The fear in his eyes when he opens anything, because he is expecting a small plastic baby, has produced more serotonin than you can imagine. He is a broken man. I have destroyed his hope of living a life free of tiny plastic babies. We will be finding these for the next 70 years. I will purchase these again. Alright. Who would do this? That sounds like a lot of fun. But man, if they really kept track of how many was found, I'm surprised. That is a different kind of evil indeed. Does give me a bit of a chuckle, though, I will admit. Okay. So, Leonardo DiCaprio's The Wolf of Wall Street. 1 star. There were no wolves in the movie. I love the face that they gave too. And that was given on May 6th of 2016 by Shiva P. What a letdown. Oh no. Alright, written May 24th of 2015 by Sir Chubbs. It's a 4-star review for this, I'm guessing, rubber penguin mask titled, I wear this mask to sing lullabies to my children. That's evil, but it's also adorable. It was, yes. No wolves, unwatchable. 1 star. Mask ones are always fun. I've never really, you know, read reviews like this, so this is pretty entertaining, actually. Alright, it says, I wear this mask to sing lullabies to my children. They are terrified of the mask. Whenever they protest about their bedtime or ask for too many sweets, I whip on the mask and they soon know who is the king penguin. Those poor children. That is pretty terrifying. Okay. Written July 3rd of 2015. By Ben Harrison for the WMA Blue Amazon Kindle Waterproof Case Cover Protective Bag Pouch. So it is a 5-star review. Hoping it'd be crap, her Kindle would slip out and electrocute her. Wow, okay. Got this for the mother-in-law for bath time. Hoping it'd be crap, her Kindle would slip out and electrocute her. So far, this bloody thing is staying in one piece. Great for waterproof kindling, crap for murder. Oh, that's, he's kind of dumb, isn't he? Even if that fell in the water, it would not electrocute someone. It's not like a, Sound like those old hair dryers. They are possibly honestly going to jail. Hopefully it was just a bad joke. Okay, so this is a 1-star review for the PlayStation 4 Star Wars Battlefront Deluxe Edition, written November 18th of 2015 by an Amazon customer. Congratulations, EA. You earned 1 star. Additional stars can be purchased for $5.49 each. I don't know the context behind that one, but clearly they're being a smart butt. Okay, what in the world? That is massive. Alright, written May 27th of 2014. 3 stars by Christy, titled Changed My Life. It's a review for the Wenger 16999 Swiss Army Knife Giant Tools and Home Improvement. EA was just notorious for making everything DLC. Oh, I suppose I'm not surprised. Okay, so it says, received this knife as a gift for my 18th birthday. Wish I'd have known what it was because as soon as I touched it, I grew a mustache and became a Navy SEAL. Mom fainted and my dad laughed and handed me a beer. I was born a girl. Minus 2 stars because my breasts were really nice. Oh, alright. I guess that's a little funny. But man, look at that thing. How many tools are even in this? It just seems very impractical. I wonder how much this actually cost. Okay. 1 star. Beds should look like beds. I ordered this when I was drunk because I thought it was a giant ice cream sandwich. It's not. It's a bed, not the $150 ice cream sandwich I wanted. Well. Oh, this is why you don't buy things when you're drunk. No, I have no idea what this is for, but it's a 5-star review written by Wes on September 21st of 2016. It says, now I have companionship. At first I wasn't sure if spending money on a sticker of an old lady with an inhaler was a good idea, but once I got it, I knew I had made the right choice. Oh, it's a sticker. She keeps me company in my apartment since I don't have any actual friends. We eat, play board games, and watch TV together. We have so much in common, like our love for breathing and other things. She doesn't argue like real people do, and unlike a girlfriend, I don't have to take her on dates, worry about keeping her happy, and she doesn't nag me for money. Overall, I am 100% satisfied with my purchase. Why is that a sticker? Not their fault it looks like a massive ice cream sandwich. I mean, that's true. But can't say that drunk purchases are the smartest idea. Okay, next one. It's a 4-star review titled Really Hard to Drive with This Thing by Joshua on July 29th of 2013. It reads, I love this product. It keeps my car nice and cool. But I will say that the only defect I have found so far is that it is very hard to drive with this on. I've had over 5 wrecks since I purchased it. After my first fender bender, I decided it was best to roll down the window and stick my head out to see the road. But even that is hard, because my eyes and mouth dry out very quickly. Since then, I have purchased some swimming goggles and a snorkel, which has helped me tremendously during long drives. Overall, I would recommend this product, but only for those who are good at driving without being able to see the road. Okay, guys, please remember to take down your sunshade before driving again. It is only meant to be kept up while you are not in the car, or at least driving it. Although I can only imagine what this person looked like wearing the goggles and snorkel while trying to drive with the sunshade up. Okay. We got what? What is this? Magnets? Child safety lock? The internet makes me wonder if it's a joke or not. I think I've learned to assume that it's not a joke. That this person is probably very serious. But I'm still gonna hope that it was a joke, for that is dangerous. Drive safe, children. Okay. So yes, I believe these are magnets intending to be a safety lock for children, maybe? If not, I'm not quite sure what else you would exactly use this for. They are safety magnets. Okay, so it's a 5-star review and is titled Stands Up to the Strength of a 2-Year-Old, written by AB on June 11th, 2016. We were having a terrible time keeping our toddler out of the fridge. He would go in, open drawers, and then leave the door open. It was a perfect game for our little boy. Man, was he mad when he discovered we added one of these locks. It seems to be holding up well so far to the tantrums and angry pulling as he rages against the machine door. I like the little the little reference in there. Very cute. What'd you do this to, Charlesman? Did you lock them out of the fridge? I don't actually think I've listened to a lot of their music. I'm sure at least I've heard something here and there, mainly because of the radio, but not on my own. McPhee Accouchment's tinfoil hat for cats? Oh. If you have other reviews for me to read, please put them in the suggestions channel on the Discord. That way it's easy for me to find. Definitely do submit more, because I think I'll probably only be streaming for as long as there are reviews to read, just for the sake of the theme of this stream. You haven't heard any of their stuff lately? Yeah, me too. I'm sure they're still around, though. How come you're scared to log into Discord? Did something happen? It beeps a lot. You can turn the notifications on. Off, I mean. Okay. 1-star review titled Perhaps There Was an Error Made Somewhere. Posted by James on December 23rd, 2017. Oh, that picture is quite funny. Anyways, it reads, well, what can I say? It never occurred to me that there are people out there whose head diameter is the same as their wrist diameter, but apparently there are. Unfortunately, my wife isn't one of them. It was almost worth keeping, just for the laughs. She could not pull the thing over her head. You can see in the photograph what I mean. If you are considering this turtleneck, please be aware they are taking the word turtleneck quite seriously. M sending back. Amazon is very good about returns. Except for my stuff, you leave those notifications on. Well, it would be nice if you did, but pings are annoying. I like turtles too, but definitely not gonna have the same proportions there, are we? It's a nice look. Yeah, I think it would be a pretty good Halloween costume, right? Okay. Uh, 2 stars. Titled Too Much Pain by Christine Campbell on August 28th, 2017. Causes too much pain and agony. Don't know why it's so popular nowadays. I'm just going to use toilet paper. I'm sorry? Oh no. Oh. Oh no. Uh, I. Ew. You don't mind pings, but mine are basically the only ones you read. Well, thank you for paying attention to them. I appreciate that. Let's see. It is a 5-star review titled A Great Bard by A. Wolf on April 14th, 2013. Das Bard ist God. Av trade it far tree weak at work great. A recap it tao Agazad Watchers 5 stars. See as there's tab QWERT A-Z return ASDFG control shift ZXCVB alt and space. What is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of that? Barely half a keyboard. Who needs many keys when few key do trick? Yeah, I guess so. Okay, let's see. This is a 5-star review saying, please send help by Blatancy on August 15th of 2018. Just enough keybinds for games? Oh, maybe. That's still interesting, though. Alright. It reads, one day I was trying to get over the $35 limit for free shipping from Amazon. So I was just throwing random food into my cart. I came across this ramen, and I had no idea what the repercussions of clicking that add to cart button would be when I bought 3 packs of it to fulfill the free shipping requirements the devious Amazon devs set up to take more of my money. A few a few days later, I got home from work and there is a large box full of ramen on my doorstep. I'm tired and lazy from work, so I just grab a random pot, boil some water, make the ramen, and stir fry it, and then set it up with a can of Arizona in front of the TV. I don't even remember what show I was watching that night. After eating half the bowl and thinking it was pretty good, suddenly my lips have the consistency of an automobile tire and sweat is running down my entire body. I can no longer see or even walk straight as I half crawl towards the refrigerator. Every breath is torture, as even the ramen miasma lingering around my face causes a new wave of heat to hit my mouth and nose. It is heaven, and I keep eating. I ended up drinking an entire gallon of milk. That night, I woke up due to rumbling and startled the neighbors, and they were on vacation. The next morning, I felt like I had lost my body weight in sweat. But when I got home from work, the ramen beckoned. It tasted pretty good, and I like spicy things. It has now been 2 weeks with me eating ramen at least once every 2 days. My lips are peeling off. I no longer have discernible internal organs, and my milk budget has reached economic crisis levels. I fed it to my sister, and she cried. This may be my last Amazon review. 10 out of 10. Will recommend to everyone I know. Ah. OP. Rest in peace. Chaos. Thank you very much for the follow. And welcome to the friendly shark infested waters. That's an SCP ramen. Yep. Addictive. Torturous. And eventually claiming their lives. Okay. Now we have Kazoos. It is a 5-star review titled They're Crap, but It's Quantity Over Quality, written by E. Parker on June 30th of 2016. It reads, They're crap, but it's quantity over quality. Pass them out at a protest against the Westboro Baptist Church to drown them out. Not the loudest on their own, but when you've got 70 odd angry queers kazooing in in unison, well, I wish they attached a video of how that protest with the angry kazooing in unison went. I think that would have been a great way to sell these. Shark? Yes. Hammerhead shark. Oh. This is a 5-star review titled It's a Winner by Norel Pride on June 30th of 2016. It reads, Even I could make it work, and I took the nicest pictures of myself in 50 years. Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you for the hydrate. And the posture check. Okay. Oh, 5-star review titling It's Not Just for Ladies, written by Gill on March 4th, 2018. It reads, "My wife bought this for our pregnancy announcement, and it was too big. I saw my opportunity and knew what I had to do. This dress does it all. You want to feel pretty? Check. Majestic? Sure. Pregnant? Of course. Hot? It's lit, fam." Oh gosh. I'd rate this a perfect 5 out of 5. I'm not sure how it works for the ladies, but it made me feel like a queen. That is quite funny. Okay. Slay Queen? Alright, so this is a 1-star review titled, "Do not buy this book. You can see the ending right on the cover. Written April 19th, 2012. Written by Pac-Man." This is a review for Where is Baby's Belly Button? Written by a Karen Klatz. It's a Lift the Flap book. It reads, "This book is completely misleading. The entire plot revolves around finding Baby's belly button. The title makes this much clear from the beginning. However, there is no mystery. There is no twist. Baby's belly button is right where it's supposed to be, on Baby's stomach, right where it clearly shows you on the cover of the book. This plot is a complete mess as a result of its reliance on the mystery of where the belly button is. Everything falls apart the second you realize that the belly button was in plain sight all along. There is no conflict, there is no character development, and there is scarcely any plot. Whoever wrote this book must have a serious error in judgment, because you would have to be an infant to not immediately understand where Baby's belly button is. This is one of the worst pieces of literature I have ever read." I can't tell if they're joking. Okay, let's see. What is that? This is a 4-star review titled Finally by G. Seed on April 2018. Critics really out here. That better be a joke. So this one reads, "I can't count the number of times I've been out and about and in need of an emergency yodeling pickle. I've tried wrapping avocados, howling broccoli, and one occasion that I'd rather forget, an aubergine that sang the whole of Wagner's Ring Cycle, but they were all poor substitutes. You can imagine my relief on learning that my quest is at an end." I wonder why it's only 4 stars and not 5 stars, if that's the case. Yep, the emergency yodeling pickle. When you are in dire need of a pickle that yodels. Alright, so this is a 5-star review titled Saved My Marriage, written July 30th, 2012 by Mrs. Toledo. It reads, "What can I say about the 571B banana slicer that hasn't already been said about the wheel, penicillin, or the iPhone? This is one of the greatest inventions of all time. My husband and I would argue constantly over who had to cut the day's banana slices. It's one of those chores no one wants to do. You know, the old, 'I spent the entire day rearing our children, maybe you can pitch in a little and cut these bananas. And of course, you think I have the energy to slave over your damn bananas? I worked a 12-hour shift just to come home to this. These are the things that can destroy an entire relationship. It got to the point where our children could sense the tension. The minutes the minute I heard our 6-year-old girl in her bedroom reenacting her daily banana fight with her Barbie dolls, I knew we had to make a change. That's when I found the 571B banana slicer. Our marriage has never been healthier, and we even incorporated it into our lovemaking. Uh, Thanks, B71B banana slicer. I'm sorry? Yes, very useful. May I recommend everyone incorporate this into their marriages? No, I don't think we should dwell on that, or it will never make sense. Anyways, moving on, we have a 5-star review titled A Ray of Light Guiding Me Through My Miserable Existence. Written by K. Herbert on December 16th, 2014. It reads, there is very little to say other than this product has changed my life. I was lonely before Fluffy the dino arrived. I often stared at the wall for hours, contemplating why I must endure such indescribable loneliness. It has been world altering to have Fluffy by my side during these week-long periods of darkness that so often plagued my life. The gentle touch from his tiny little arm is so soothing that it allows me to forget about the series of bad decisions and horrible consequences that make up the past 10 years of my life. I'm not a doctor anymore, but I would say prescribe this friend to anyone looking for a fun little buddy or a comforting force of kindness to get them through their most ominous hours. I think they're right, Judd. We all need a Fluffy in our lives. How could you resist that shine and that smile? And I think that's a dinosaur cookie. Alright. Three-star review. Neopets Small Plush Series 5 Disco something. The title is Dino Didn't Get Me Any by Doug, written on October 13th, 2014. It reads, this is my girlfriend's favorite Neopet. I bought this for my girlfriend in hopes that she would feel bad about calling me selfish over my graduation plans. Did it work? Nope. Did it get me laid that night? Nope. $20 down the drain, and all I got was a thanks. And now this thing is sitting in a closet somewhere. I don't blame the dinosaur. Rather, I blame myself for trying to be thoughtful. Well, honey, it's not that you were being thoughtful. You were trying to get some and save your own butt. Fortunately, that's not how it works. Alright, are we sure no one has anything else to submit? We are coming down to the last two, and I'm looking forward to these. It's about the Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. How dare they use Neopets for evil? Exactly. That's why they got what they deserve, right? Alright, I hope you're ready. This is a 1-star review titled See You in Hell, Haribo Sugar-Free Gummy Bears. Written June 5th, 2015. It reads, It was my last class of the semester, and the final exam was worth 30% of our grade. After a late night study session, I felt confident, but I had to decide between sleeping in or cooking breakfast. My eyelids chose sleep. My stomach later regretted this decision, and after several uncomfortable stomach growls, I finally decided to make a quick stop by the campus bookstore and grab a snack before my test. Since the semester was ending, and everyone was going home for the summer, a lot of items were on sale, including the snacks and candy that they kept up front. Being in the hungry state I was in, it felt only logical to pick the largest, yet least expensive candy in order to get more bang for my buck. And there they sat. 2 bags of Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. Buy one, get one free. What a deal, I thought naively. I would eat 1 bag before my test and 1 bag afterwards. As I walked to class, I gleefully chewed on those abominable little bastards, unaware of the utter mayhem that they would soon unleash upon my poor, poor anus. I sat down at my desk as the professor informed us that, due to issues with cheating in the past, restroom breaks would be prohibited until the completion of the exam. I'll give you 10 minutes to use the restroom now. This will be your last chance. Any takers? The demon bears hadn't released their unholy necromancy upon my stomach yet, so in my moments of ignorant foolishness, I remained seated, still munching on those miniature bear-shaped bombs. After the students, wise enough to take the professor's offer, had returned, the professor handed out the test. I was 6 questions in when it happened. I started subtly at first, almost like a slight tingly sensation in my lower abdomen. I thought nothing of it, assuming my intestines were just doing their thing. Little did I know that my intestines were desperately trying to warn me of the horror that was on the horizon. By question 9, it happened again, but this time it was followed by a sharp pain, as if those inferno hellions had orchestrated an attack upon my colon. I fought to contain the groan that tried escaping my lips. It was at this point I began to panic. Something was going horribly wrong, and I needed to get through this test before it got any worse. By question 14, my worst fear was upon me. The Satan bear's burning, hot, liquidy dark magic crashed against my anal sphincter like a tidal wave. I was able to close the hatch just in time, but those relentless, toxic bears beat against it like orcs, breaking down the doors of Helm's Deep. I knew I wouldn't be able to so much as shift in my seat without risking a breach. I kept fighting through my exam, clenching my cheeks with all my might. Beads of sweat began rolling down my neck. Suddenly, a loud, gurgling war cry came from my belly, and the entire class lifted their heads. At this point, nothing mattered except expelling this ungodly presence from my bowels. With 15 questions left, I promptly wrote C for every answer and ran out of the room. My professor yelled something, but I was too preoccupied with the volcanic eruption that needed to take place before I could find sweet relief. I burst into the restroom like the Kool-Aid Man, and, behold, the handicap stall was empty. Sun rays from the adjacent window shone upon it, as if it were a gift from God himself. It took me less than 0.5 seconds to undo my belt buckle, pull down my pants, and finally relax my weary buttocks upon the toilet seat. It took absolutely no effort to expel this demon. Almost immediately, the floodgates of hell were opened, and the damned, liquefied souls of an entire bag's worth of gummy bears cried as they burned through my sphincter, and into the watery abyss below. I had never felt such simultaneous relief and anguish in my life. After 30 more minutes of this, I immediately went home, dug a hole in my backyard, and burned the remaining bag of gummy bears. I leave with this: do not, I repeat, do not eat these spawns of Satan. Not only did they cause me to fail my final tests, but the anguish I experienced is something I wouldn't wish upon anyone, not even my worst enemy. The only place these godforsaken hell bears belong are buried down deep below the earth's surface. 20,300 people found this helpful. So kids, never eat Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. Also, hello Dragon, thank you for the lurk. Oh boy. Although, really? Even despite the context? You sure? That was indeed quite something. Although, as I'm sure you can tell, that was not the worst story you'll hear. This one, in fact, goes for much longer than that previous one. So I do hope you're ready. I don't think I am. Even more of your voice and some laughs. You're so ready? You say so. Guess all I can say at this point is, good luck, chat. It is definitely going to be a ride. Alright. So, this is yet another review for the Haribo Gummy Bears. This is a 1-star review written by Jeffrey Lambert on May 2nd, 2016, titled, Hell Holds No Surprises for Me Anymore. Oh, Inferno, thank you very much for the 100 biddies.
Oh my god. Chat. Look at that shark. She is so cute. She looks like one of those cuties that needs to be spoiled right now. This message paid for by the Spoil Freaking Cuties campaign.
Thank you, Inferno. Kunari, thank you very much for the follow. And welcome to the friendly shark-infested waters. Also, that's odd. This thing didn't do what it's supposed to. Let me reopen this real quick. Okay, here we go. Okay. Here we go. Oh, thank you for the stretch. This is a cautionary tale, and unlike most of the other reviews on this product, this is a true story, and its authenticity can be qualified by a small news item that appeared in the Toronto Star's local news section during the month of April in 2013. Much to my chagrin, I would consider myself a prudent man, not given to bouts of outspokenness or craving attention, and certainly not one to rock the boat. On any given day, I can be found reading a crime novel on a park bench in the middle of the city, soaking in the opulence of nature while nibbling on my tuna fish sandwiches, and fending off the voracious gulls and squirrels that threaten to spoil my repose. This is me, law-abiding and introspective, which is why it came as a shock to me to find myself incarcerated because the devil's confectionery, Satan's sweetmeat, Lucifer's lozenges, the horror that is known as Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. I'll set the scene. It was late winter, early spring in Toronto, and the city had just been digging itself out from a late season snowstorm. I was heading to Pearson International Airport for a red-eye flight to Amsterdam in order to give the Dutch arm of our company some training on the new software that had been installed. I'm deliberately being vague to prevent my place of work from being linked in any way to the incident that occurred. I had just finished packing, checked the time, and found I was running late. My flight was at 7:10 p.m., and it was now almost 5 p.m. Cursing softly, I ran out to the car and threw my bags in the trunk, hitting the gas a little harder than usual
Velp.
in my haste to make it to the long-term parking lot as soon as possible. Luckily, traffic was light on the 401 and made it to the airport in record time, but knew that my chances of making the flight were still at risk if I didn't use my time wisely. Thank you, Cassie, for the resub for 6 months. What was the whelp for? Okay. Continuing on. I hadn't eaten since lunch, and I was feeling a bit hungry, my stomach rumbling loudly in protestation, which caused me to look around at the other travelers rushing past me in the busy terminal, mortified that my bodily noises might be heard by others. I briskly checked my watch and decided that I had enough time to grab a quick snack before going through traffic. Before going through the baggage check and security, and would get something more substantial once I checked in. I spotted a vending machine nestled in a relatively low-traffic corner of the terminal and rushed over, already pulling out my credit card and mentally assessing what I had a craving for, so as to save time interacting with the machine. My eyes scanned the colorful array of confection quickly, coming to rest on a tantalizing rainbow-colored bag of gummy bears with the simple white and red logo, Haribo, emblazoned across the bag in what appeared to be a slightly tweaked Helvetica rounded font. I like how detailed they are with this. Now, I'd pause here in the story for a moment to underscore the importance of making proper choices. I was hungry. When you're hungry, you should eat food. Food is defined as a nutritious substance that people consume to maintain life. This is what food is. These days, the definition of the word food has been bastardized and the meaning has been broadened to include verbatimly any material that can be digested or rather chewed and swallowed without causing death or severe illness. Haribo sugar-free gummy bears are not food. They aren't even from this planet. I imagine their origins being conceived in a boardroom in hell by a top team of creative pain administrators with senior level demons rubbing their hands together in ghoulish delight as hell's chief chemist slowly lifts the veil on their new creation. The point here being, I made a very, very, very poor choice. I pushed the button and the vending machine ejected the brightly colored bag into my waiting hands. I had always liked gummy bears. They were bright but rather innocuous. They weren't overly sweet, so as to become cloying, and, of course, each candy came in the visage of a rather happy, docile bear, reminiscent of the pictures one's mind's eye holds of all anthropomorphic bears, from Yogi to Winnie. The way I figured it, I was taking a bit of a holiday from life so I could relax my fastidiously regimented daily schedule a little to allow for some frivolity. After all, I was going to be in Amsterdam come morning with 16 hours to kill before I had to be training the Dutch employees. Maybe I would take a trip down to one of the coffee shops in the red light district and really let my hair down. No, I wouldn't do that. I would see that area of the city from the bus as I went to the hotel, or I would eat at the hotel restaurant and drink sparkling water. So I'd better enjoy the gummy bears, my one extravagance to commemorate my break from routine. I joined the queue in the KLM line, which was mercifully short, most likely because of all the passengers for my flight had already been checked through, as the flight was scheduled to depart in an hour. I checked my watch again, frowned, and absent-mindedly opened the bag of Haribo sugar-free gummy bears, and began to munch on them as the line slowly advanced. To be fair, they tasted fine, just like every other manufacturer's brand of the colorful candy, and they were sugar-free to boot. This is what made the whole incident that followed so baffling. If they had tasted off or different, I most likely wouldn't have continued to shovel them into my mouth absent-mindedly while daydreaming about what I would order to eat from room service in my hotel in Amsterdam. As I gave the attendant my e-ticket and she weighed my bags, the first of the pains began in my stomach. I thought nothing of it at first, chalking it up to the fact that I needed something more substantial than gummy worms to tackle my hunger. But over the course of the next 5 minutes, the shooting pain began to come in more rapid succession. At this point, I had my boarding pass printed and rubbing my stomach a little. I proceeded to security. I briefly entertained the thought of trying to find a restroom before going through security, But at that point, my discomfort was manageable, and I didn't think it was getting any worse. Certainly, not within the amount of time it would take to clear security. I joined the line and started fishing for my passport to present to the agent checking tickets. I felt a thin sheen of sweat break out on my forehead and underarms, and my features flushed for a moment as a wave of heat washed over me. I didn't pay it much heed, as going through security always caused me great anxiety, and I chalked it up to pre-flight jitters. It was only as I stood face to face with the agent and handed her my passport and ticket that I had a glimpse of the agony that was about to begin. It felt like time rippled for a moment, as if my consciousness buckled, so intense was the pain that fired through my bowels. I grimaced spastically and emitted a low moan and felt myself take an involuntary step sideways. Stars shot through my head briefly, and my vision blurred, and then snapped back into focus. The agent was staring at me with slight consternation and asked me if I was all right. I pulled myself together, stood up straight, and declared that I was fine, mortified that I had a lapse of decorum, not only in public, but at the security clearance in an airport. As I fumbled off my belt to go through the metal detector, the pain in my stomach increased, and I practically had to sit on the floor to take my shoes off, terrified of what would happen if I bent at the middle to do it. I was becoming increasingly more evident to me that this wasn't just a stomach ache. No, this was something much worse. As a child, I had a bout of diarrhea after a trip to Mexico with my family. I remember the feeling of nausea that swept through me before my child self had surrendered to the gas pains and parked myself on the toilet for an hour, shitting until it felt like I didn't have any bones left. And that was how I was feeling now. With several key differences, the pain was worse. The sense of an impending bowel movement was so formidable it gave me temporary amnesia, and it took all of my willpower, all of it, to clench my butt cheeks together to prevent my sphincter from exploding. A sudden shock of pain racked my body, and I half wondered if I was going to give birth to a Tasmanian devil. The crazy, fever-induced image of said cartoon animal chasing Bugs Bunny through the splashy, volcanic shit kettle that was my stomach caused me to elicit a short, maniacal bark of laughter as I approached the metal detector, a wild, distant look in my eyes, sweat now beginning to pour off of my like a long-distance runner in Kenya. The security agent on the side of the detector shot a quick glance over to her coworker, who narrowed his eyes and made a subtle movement towards his holster. My breathing became uneven as I entered the metal detector, and I realized with alarm that I had taken off my socks without even registering it, and one of my shirt tails was untucked from the front. I held my breath, my eyes bulging dangerously from my head as the machine scanned me. As I shakily moved forward towards the agent for a pat-down, my stomach began to elicit sounds that can only be described as otherworldly. It started off a sort of bubbling sound, heard from afar and grew in pitch and intensity at an alarming rate. My jaw dropped in shock as what I can only describe as the sound of an agonized, wailing alley cat in heat, with a persistent Doppler effect added to its voice emitted from some nether region of my intestines. The officer's eyes widened in alarm, and she kept her eyes glued to my stomach as she thoroughly patted me down. As she reached my shins, I felt my innards suddenly expand and plummet towards my rectum. With cat-like reflexes, I squeezed my sphincter shut with what seemed like nanoseconds to spare, and I knew that if I didn't get the bathroom immediately, I would shit myself. With a Herculean effort, and all of the strength that I could muster. I forced my buck cheeks together, knowing that one false move would open the floodgates. I began to walk like a duck, trying to remain as inconspicuous as possible, not even caring now what other people were seeing in front of them. A disheveled, barefoot, 40-year-old businessman, red-faced and bulgy-eyed, sweating profusely, shaking slightly, and walking without bending his knees. With single-minded intensity, I grabbed my carry-on, shoes, and socks from out of the plastic tub that had passed for the X-ray inspection, and without putting anything back on, I turned on my heels with the intention of finding the nearest restroom and slowly dying there one squirt at a time. But that's not what happened. I turned to go and found myself staring at 3 armed agents who stopped me and asked if I would follow them. "Why, what's the matter?" I stammered, wincing slightly as the act of speech seemed to strain the tenuous and extremely fragile truce I had negotiated between my bowels and the tempest that raged within. "I have to go to the bathroom. Right now," I pleaded. "Just follow us, please," they said, leaving no room for argument. The other travelers, clearing the security checks, stared with curiosity and revulsion at the spectacle unfolding before them, whispering amongst themselves and hurrying to pack up their belongings and get as far away from me as possible, no doubt assuming that the airport had nabbed some sort of domestic terrorist. If I hadn't been feverishly trying to hold back the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, I would have died of shame. With each step I took towards the room that they ushered me into, I felt that my legs would give way. I marveled at how strong the human could be. Marveled at what was essentially patching a hole in the Hoover Dam with bubblegum could actually be sustained indefinitely. Maybe I could make it through this ordeal after all. The room they brought me into was an examination room. I had pretty much stopped registering details of my environment as my consciousness closed off all but the absolute necessary functions: breathing, ability to walk. But I snapped back to reality when I heard the snap of rubber. The slow dawning of realization poked through my agony and stoic resolve as I turned to face an agent donning rubber gloves. "Sir, we are going to perform a cavity search on you," a young, fresh-faced agent stated in a firm but emotionless voice. His short-cropped blonde hair was immaculate, and for a crazy moment I wondered if he was an actor, and this was all some sort of elaborate, practical joke done to amuse bored kids watching YouTube. He must have taken my tortured silence for resistance because it looked at me sharply and said, "Lower your pants and underwear, please, and face the desk." Panic started to grip me in its icy grasp, and the sudden adrenaline threatened to destroy my sphincters, bulwarks, and rend my anus in two. I inhaled sharply, and with a pained grasp, I doubled up my efforts to clench my cheeks together. "Sir, please," I begged, deferring to this kid in an act of desperation. "I have to go to the bathroom. You can follow me into the stall if you need to, but I had some bad Haribo sugar-free gummy bears, and now I feel like—" And they had stopped listening and smirked at each other. 2 of the other agents, a tall, dark-haired female and a shorter, balding, fat man, looked away from me, and I could see them shaking a little as they stifled their laughs. "Sir, face the wall, put your hands on the desk, and spread your cheeks," the young agent stated, a lopsided grin on his face. But I began to protest, and then a fresh shock of pain forced me to stop and lean on the table for support as an ungodly howling rose from my stomach. Something between the dying moans of a woolly mammoth and the sound of bubble wrap popping underwater. I exhaled shakily, and my focus began to narrow as I railed for the final battle. Shaking uncontrollably and sweat literally raining down onto the table top in front of me, I turned to face the wall and heard a meek, childlike voice pleading from somewhere in the room. "Please," it said, and then again, "Please." From somewhere within me, my mind recognized that this sound had issued from me, although my consciousness had now begun to separate from my body, and I held my breath and prayed to God for strength. He probably has some heroin or something up there that opened up, the female guard said, as a part of me that hasn't escaped into the ether yet acknowledged that she was behind me to my left, probably high as a kite. Look at him, she said. The shorter guard agreed with a snort off to my right. Spread your cheeks, the young agent said, his voice directly behind me and lower than the other two, and bend over. Please God, please God, please God, please God, I whispered in a desperate medical mantra, not even aware of my surroundings anymore. I felt like I was lost in an opium fog with half-snatched images and sounds filtering through to create a nonsensical version of reality. Another volley of pain tore through me, and I involuntarily leaned forward over the desk, my focus completely narrowed now to a spot on the wall 2 feet in front of me. A curious imperfection in what seemed to be whitewashed stone wall. It was a dark blotch about 5 millimeters long and shaped like a smiling bear, a yellow dancing bear. No. A green bear. No. Red. It was all colors of the rainbow. My God, it was beautiful. It just took something as simple as a slight breeze to trigger Armageddon. That's all. No trumpets, no fanfare, no fire raining from the heavens, no dogs and cats living together in harmony, no finger on the button, no prophet to predict it, no nothing. As I stared at the rainbow bear smiling and dancing in front of me, my mouth agape, drooling, eyes glazed and bloodshot, face coated with a sheen of sweat, I heard the softest sound, an exhalation from the young agent behind me, and then at the same instant the warm air of his breath feather across my butt cheeks. For a moment, maybe less, maybe a split second, even a nanosecond, I felt the presence of God there with me in that room as neurons began to misfire at a blinding rate. Nerve ending bristled and muscles twitched reflexively. I stood on the brink with one foot hovering over the edge, and then, without taking a step, I found myself plummeting. What sounds like an extra-large plastic ketchup bottle being run over by a Mack truck, my sphincter release. The pressure of the blast pushed me hard into the desk, and the legs of the desk screeched as they scraped along the floor. My body remained rigid for a moment, and I experienced a relief that can only be described as orgasmic in its purity. My eyes rolled back in my head, and my tongue lolled out of my head like a half special dog, and I emitted a low, sustained moan that grew in pitch as the filthy torrent pushed its way out of my body. Tremors racked my body. I must have looked like a fish out of water, with an endless stream of shit firing out of its ass. Other sounds and sensations started to filter in now as my consciousness began to materialize once more. The muffled scream of a dungeon filled with prisoners near death radiated from my stomach. The rushing sounds of liters of liquid trying to escape through an aperture too small to accommodate it all at the same time. The omnipresent sound of chunky liquid, spattering against a hard surface with great force, the high-pitched screaming of a woman's voice calling out to God, another voice sobbing uncontrollably, imploring to make it stop, and my own ecstatic monotone wail. When my ordeal had eventually run its course, I was left panting for breath and wobbled flaggedly, half crying, half laughing with relief, barely lucid and feeling as if I had birthed an elephant. My colon felt like someone had poured chili sauce all over it and then sent in a colony of fire ants to eat it. Through my sobs I heard the sound of dripping, from what the sprinklers are eventually turned off after an office fire, and after a thunderstorm when the willow that overhangs a pond continues to rain down long after the sky stopped. From behind me, the sobbing continued, and I heard someone trying to speak into a walkie talkie, but nonsensical words were all the man could speak, which sounded like the ravagings of a lunatic. With a great relief, I slowly pulled myself off the table, legs trembling, my stomach eliciting one last sound, a loud, prolonged gasp bubbling that eerily resembled a pig orgasm. I slowly turned my head to survey the devastation, and in that instance, if I had had a pencil or some other sharp object, I probably would have gouged my eyes out in revulsion. And the smell was enough to drive a man insane. It was the stench of rotting potatoes mixed with sulfur and ammonia, cooked in a broth of chicken feces and left to age for 2 weeks in a yeasty stew at the bottom of a French outhouse. After half a whiff of this ghoulish brine, I immediately stopped breathing through my nose, but the taste was to remain in the back of my throat for months to come. The young agent had taken the brunt of the foul witch's brew, and at first I couldn't process what I was seeing. I thought somehow the young blonde kid had been spirited away and replaced by a brown golem, or a ATV rider that had spent the better part of a day driving through every mud puddle he could find after a torrential downpour. With some degree of compartmentalization, I had come to understand that for some unfathomable reason, this kid hadn't moved, or hadn't been able to move, through the entire fecal deluge. He had weathered the entire assault head on like some sort of hero from Greek mythology. I had given this poor schmuck a one-man shit bukkake that would make a Brazilian pornographer retch with disgust, and he was still in the same spot, in the same position he must have been from the moment of first impact. I tried to comprehend how he must be feeling, what he must be going through psychologically, but it became evident very quick that he had become very broken, no doubt forested deeply within himself once the fire hose had been turned on, that there was little to no hope for him ever coming back from it. Certainly not without extensive psychotherapy or a lobotomy. I looked beyond his quivering, catatonic, crouched form to see a perfect outline of him cut out on the white wall behind him. Either side filled it with a dripping, opaque layer of alternately pulpy and runny fecal stew. I noticed two quivering masses at either extremes of the room, and realized they were humanoid in form, although the caterwauling that was coming from these broken creatures was just blubbering gibberish, and that was the tableau that was burnt into my mind's eye for eternity. Needless to say, I missed my flight. In fact, the next week is a blur. I have vague recollections of an army of hazmat-clad figures looming through the brown landscape of the soiled room, the slopping sounds of rubber boats squelching in puddles, to fetid detritus, uncontrollable wailing and animal-like sounds issuing from the mouths of creatures that had been traumatized beyond their capacity for being put back together. The complete loss of sensation from my waist down as I was rolled through the room on a waterproof gurney, its wheels struggling to surf on top of the shit-soaked floor. I spent a week or so in the hospital, enclosed in a well-ventilated sealed room, with suited doctor coming in and out on the hour to monitor my vital signs as they tried to rehydrate my body. I had apparently expelled every available drop of water from my body that was possible to sustain life without for a short period of time. All of my clothes were incinerated in the hospital's crematorium, and the soiled bag of Haribo sugar-free gummy bears were never recovered. This is my story, It is inconceivable to think that this kind of product can be sold legally and be misrepresented as food. I was lucky. I survived. But as for the families of the survivors and the survivors themselves, they will forever live with the trauma of the events that took place at Pearson International Airport on that snowy day in April 2013. I must say that that was quite the story. I knew this was going to be bad, but I didn't expect it to be that bad. The things I had to read out loud, I think was traumatic enough for me. I don't know about all of you, but yeah. They should have just listened to him and let him use the bathroom. Yes, there's a trick, children. If you need to have a colonoscopy, just eat a bag of sugar-free Haribo gummy bears, and then you won't have to drink that nasty liquid that they have to give you. That is an odd time, in my opinion. I do agree. Thank you for the stretch and for that hydrate earlier, which I will do now.